What are the rules for Fitch-style natural deduction? Stick around and I'll show you. Hello everyone, welcome to Attic Philosophy. We are in the middle of a series of videos introducing basic propositional logic. We've been focusing in on proof systems, natural deduction, Fitch-style. In the previous video, I showed you how Fitch-style natural deduction works. In this video, we're going to introduce the rules that we need to construct Fitch-style natural deductions. And in the next video, we're going to look through a whole bunch of examples so that we get confident in using the rules. In general, for each connective and or not, if then, if and only if, we are going to need two and a bit rules. One is going to be an introduction rule, telling us how to introduce that connective into a proof, and the other is going to be an elimination rule, and that will show us how to take that connective out of a proof. Okay, so let's look at those connective by connective. If we have A in a proof and B in a proof, we can add A and B into the proof. That is our AND introduction rule. And similarly, if we have A and B, we can eliminate the and introduce A into our proof, and that also works for B. So if we have A and B, we can introduce B into the proof. So these two together are the AND elimination rules. Okay, so the rules for AND are really simple. Let's have a look at OR. If we have A in a proof, we can introduce disjunction, so A or B, and we can also do it the other way round. So if we have A, we can introduce B or A. These are the OR introduction rules. The elimination rule for OR is a little bit more complicated, so let's go through this one slowly. Suppose we've got A or B in a proof. Okay, there's no obvious way that we can swiftly eliminate that, because if A or B is true, we don't know which one it is, okay? We don't know that A's true, we don't know that B's true, so we can't go directly to A, we can't go directly to B. We have to do something a little bit trickier. So what we can do is, in effect, a bit of side working with some embedded subproofs. Okay, so we know that either of A or B is going to be true. So suppose we assume A and conclude some third thing, C. And then also we assume that B, and we conclude the same third thing, C. So what we've done there is we have said, well, if A's the case, then so C, and also if B's the case, then so C. Okay, so C follows from A, C follows from B, and we know that either A or B is the case. So either way, C is going to follow. This is the elimination rule for disjunction. Okay, so let's go through it again because it's a bit more complicated. If we start off with A or B, what we do is assume A derives C, and then independently assume B and derive that same thing, C. The C here and the C here have to be the same. If we can do that, then we can say that C on its own follows from A or B. Let's have a look at the arrow, the conditional for if-then. Its introduction rule we've already met in the previous video via conditional proof. If we assume A and can derive B from that, then we can introduce if A then B outside the scope of that assumption. Okay, so to reiterate that, we assume A, derive B, and then cancel that assumption and infer if A then B. That is the introduction rule for the arrow, or it's also known as conditional proof. The elimination rule for the arrow, we've already met that too. If we have premises if A then B and also A, we can infer B. That one's modus ponens, okay? So we can either call it the arrow elimination rule or we can call it modus ponens. In the case of the biconditional, if and only if, well, we don't have any special rules here. We kind of just treat it via its definition with the arrow. So to introduce it into a proof, if we have an arrow going one way and an arrow going the other way, then we can introduce the two-way arrow. And if we have the two-way arrow in a proof, then we can infer via its definition to an arrow going one way and the arrow going the other. So there we've looked at all of the connectives apart from negation. And negation is going to be a little bit more complicated. And in fact, there are different ways of reasoning about negation in natural deduction. There are different options for us in selecting which rules we're going to use. So I'll explain the rules that we're going to use. In order to reason about negation, we're going to introduce a new device. This guy here, sometimes called fulsome. It's like an upside down T. And it's going to represent for us an arbitrary contradiction. So you could think of this as P and not P or whatever. But we're going to use this symbol. It's a special kind of atomic sentence and it always takes the truth value false. How does it help? Well, it helps us formulate nice rules for negation. Let's have a look. Okay, so our first rule allowing us to introduce negation goes like this. Suppose you assume something, A, and you can derive a contradiction from it. That indicates that something went wrong with that assumption. The assumption must have been wrong. So what you can infer is not A. You assumed A, you showed that that can't be right, so you can infer not A. So this is our way of introducing negation. It's our negation introduction rule. But we can also call it by its fancier name, reductio ad absurdum, okay? Now we're going to hear that term quite a bit. It's a way of inferring that something isn't the case. What you do is you first of all assume that it is the case, and then you show that that can't possibly be right by deriving a contradiction, and then you infer the negation of that thing. Okay, reductio ad absurdum. So that's our introduction rule for negation. What about the elimination rule? Well, here we have some options, but the one we're going to use is this. Suppose we have not A in a proof, and suppose we can also demonstrate A. In other words, we can get a contradiction going there. Well, in that case, we can introduce our fulsome constant, okay? Because this is it's like our marker for a contradiction. So if we start off with not A and we turn it into a contradiction, we can introduce the fulsome constant. So this is our elimination rule for not, but we could also call it the introduction rule for the fulsome constant. Either way, really. Now, because we've introduced this new primitive sentence, the fulsome, into our language, we're going to need some rules for it. These ones don't quite correspond to the introduction elimination rule paradigm. Let's have a look at the two rules for the fulsome constant. The first one looks a little bit like our reductio ad absurdum rule, but it's different. It says if we start off assuming that A is false, not A, and we get a contradiction from that, our fulsome constant, well, then we can infer A. Okay, so if we assume that something isn't the case and we're proved wrong, it must be the case. We infer A. That's known as indirect proof. It's called indirect proof because you kind of go around the houses a little bit. You're assuming that something is false, getting a contradiction, and inferring that it is in fact true. So that's one rule for fulsome. Here's the other one. Really simple. From the fulsome constant, you can infer any old sentence you like. There are lots of different names for this rule. Some people call it ex falso quodlibet. From a contradiction or from a falsehood, anything follows. We're just going to call it X. Or you could call it fulsome elimination, okay? Now that rule might be a bit confusing, okay? Why should it be that A, any old sentence A, can be concluded from a contradiction? Well, think about our definition of entailment using truth tables. Entailment says it can't be that the premise is true and the conclusion is false. But this chap can never be true. So it can never be the case that this is true and this is false. So this inference is always going to be a good one, whatever A is. A could be as absurd as you like. It's always going to follow from this because this can never be true. Okay, like I said, there are different ways of formulating these rules for negation. We have picked 2 rules for negation plus 2 rules for fulsome. We could have picked a different set, and later on in the next video, we're going to look at some different rules for negation and we're going to show how they're interchangeable. In fact, using the rules that we've got here, we can derive those other rules. That's the sense in which it doesn't really matter which ones we pick, but what does matter is that we pick a fixed set of rules and we say we're going to learn these, we're going to get comfortable with them. Okay, so there are the rules for Fichte-style natural deduction, or at least the rules that we are going to work with for propositional logic. Okay guys, that is all for this brief introduction to the rules that we need for Fichte-style natural deduction. In the next video, we are going to look at how we use those rules to construct Fichte-style proofs. Stick around for that. If you've been enjoying this series of videos on basic logic, why not subscribe to the channel? It would be great to have you on board. Thanks very much for all your support. I'll see you next time.